Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If someone wants to join us, I know it's been a long day, but you had 10 minutes long break. Now we are starting with sessions again. So please, if you want to come inside, do so. We have a very important topic to discuss in the next half an hour. And those of you who are here, I beg you please for silence so we can start. My name is Nafisa Latic. I'm a presenter at TRT World in Istanbul. I'm really happy to be here with you. I want to say thank you to Minister Fayon and her team for inviting us and inviting me to moderate two conversations during Bled Strategic Forum. Very important conversations. But it's not my first time here in Bled. Last time I was here, I was only 6 years old, back in the 90s, when my home country, Bosnia and Herzegovina, was in war. My family escaped here in Slovenia, like many others, and I was in Bled with my mother and her friend and my brothers, walking around this beautiful lake. My mother's friend brought us here, hoping that us children and my mom will have at least a little bit of a break of all the bad news and things that we've been through. I'm not sure if she succeeded with my mother, but she definitely succeeded with my brothers as we truly enjoyed that day. So thank you, Slovenia, for inviting me again. And I do want to say thank you to all Slovenian people for accepting us back then as refugees. As you know, my city was under the worst modern siege, the worst siege in modern history. Okay, now I would like to go directly through Zoom to Ramallah. Over there is Amal Jadou, ambassador, senior foreign policy advisor to Prime Minister of State of Palestine. Amal, I'm very happy to see you. I'll take a seat here, so it will be easier for me to see you from this perspective. First of all, it's been very difficult to communicate with you throughout the morning. We couldn't even send you properly a Zoom link, so thank you for your patience. Let me start by asking you, what is the situation currently in the West Bank, there where you are?
Well, thank you, Nafisa, very much. And I would like also to thank the government, the people of Slovenia, not only for inviting us and for the Voice of Palestine to be presented in the Bled Strategic Forum, but also for their principal stand in recognizing the state of Palestine. So thank you, Slovenia. Thank you, Foreign Minister, thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you to all the people of Slovenia for standing by international law and people's right to self-determination, and especially the Palestinians' right to self-determination. It's not a symbolic position, it's not a symbolic step, but it's actually very vital for salvaging the two-state solution. And I also would like to commend Minister Pion for her invitation this morning to other countries who have not recognized the state of Palestine to follow suit. It's only natural that countries that have recognized the state of Israel to recognize the state of Palestine. It is not a favor, it is people's right to self-determination. It's a right for Palestinians to have their state. And I'm very proud that Slovenia has taken this step. And it's no wonder that Slovenians have also, received you and your mother in Bled. So the positions of Slovenians is really standing by those who are in need for the implementation of international law.
Ambassador Jadot, in my intro I said there are many important topics to discuss. Unfortunately, time is not on our side, so I'll start right away. I mentioned West Bank. In the last couple of days, Wednesday onwards, we have seen significant Israeli military actions in the West Bank. Tell us what is happening at the moment there, and how do you see this move by Israeli officials?
Nafisa, your inability to reach me was because I was on the road. And in fact, I had to spend 2 hours and a half because the Israeli army blocked the road from Bethlehem to Ramallah. And I had to take so many, bypass roads in order to reach my destination and my office in Ramallah today. And, what is happening in the West Bank is an intensification of what existed before. In fact, it's nothing new, but it's only intensification and solidification of Israel's steps in the West Bank. In fact, what is happening today has happened long before what is happening in Gaza. And in fact, we have warned against this because Israel's eye has continued to be on the West Bank and not on the Gaza Strip. And, before the 7th of October and its aftermath, what was going on was a process of settler colonialist enterprise that is basically being consolidated day after day, no matter what the color of the government in Israel was. And today, we don't need political analysis. In fact, we need to listen to what Israeli ministers what they're saying, and we understand what is going on. Smotrich has laid out the options before the Palestinians, and they can be summarized in genocide, or ethnic cleansing, or apartheid. And in fact, today we are witnessing the three elements that are happening in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. The settlement expansion is happening and it's being intensified as we speak. Palestinians today, Minister Katz, the Israeli Minister of Foreign Affairs, said that they will have to evacuate, or they are evacuating as part of the aggression in the Jenin area and in Tulkarem and in Kalkilia. They are asking people to leave their refugee camps, and they're evacuating the refugee camps. What is also happening is, an apartheid regime by almost a formal, or in fact, a formal annexation of the occupied territories, because today the party that is responsible for the administration of the occupied territory is the two ministers, and they are two settlers, in fact, Minister Smotrich and Minister Ben-Gvir, who basically yesterday in an interview basically said that we are human animals again, as the Minister of Defense said at the outset of the war in Gaza. He repeated the words, and he said that Palestinians do not have rights. All the rights need to be given to the Israeli settlers in the occupied territories in violation of international law. So, since the 7th of October, more than 660 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank. And basically...
let me jump in here, Ambassador Jadou. I do want to discuss Gaza now as we entering 11th month, and ceasefire deal seems not to be on the table at the moment, or at least we are seeing these incursions now, so we should discuss definitely the timing of that. But Ambassador Jadou, what is the Palestinian Authority doing with its international partners to reach a ceasefire deal, and what do you see as the main obstacle towards it?
Well, in fact, we have been working very actively with all of our partners in the international community, with foreign ministers, prime ministers, with the United Nations, trying to encourage, the move towards, a political agreement. We have intensified our, legal, political, and diplomatic activism in order to, to spare our people in Gaza the continuous, attacks and raids and aggression against them. It's being unsuccessful every time. We have adopted and subscribed to President Biden's ideas that were also adopted in a UN Security Council resolution 2735. And, we have been committed to that. We have been committed to the two-state solution. We have been asking, Israel to, and all countries to basically convince and put pressure on Israel to accept or to abide by the UN Security Council resolutions that have been passed. And unfortunately, the Prime Minister of Israel is coming up with new conditions every step of the way. And in fact, in the meantime, lives are lost on both sides, Palestinians and Israelis in the meantime. I believe that human lives are far more precious than any, passage or corridor or border crossing. We need to be salvaging lives, and we need to be sparing the lives of my people in Gaza.
You mentioned the UN resolutions and the comments by the current government in Tel Aviv. It's not likely that they will abide by those resolutions based on what we heard from them as of recently. But I do want to ask you about another thing at the moment. How willing is the current government in Ramallah, how open it is towards reaching a broader agreement when it comes to the solution of the conflict in Gaza and the solution in general in the West Bank? Because as we heard as of recently, there's a lot of reforms needed inside Palestinian leadership as well. I mean, more than 40,000 people dead, among them 70,000 children, incursions in the West Bank. It does look for us from the outside that you will not be able to stop any of that.
Well, to be honest with you, we have subscribed and continue to subscribe to the globally accepted solution to this conflict, and that is the two-state solution. I mean, the two-state solution is not a Palestinian invention. In fact, it's a globally accepted solution to this conflict. We continue to say that we abide by the two-state solution based on international law, and we have went to the ICJ and basically requested, or the UN General Assembly has gone to the ICJ, requested an advisory opinion. The advisory opinion was issued, and it basically very clearly said that there is a state of occupation that needs to end. Israel needs to end its occupation of the occupied territories. And by the occupied territories, I mean the West Bank, Gaza Strip. I mean the West Bank, including East Jerusalem and Gaza Strip. And we have been working so hard with our international partners to ensure that Israel respects this solution. And unfortunately, Israel is really, not abiding by that, and is becoming a bully. It's becoming a pariah state, in fact. And it's extremely important for countries of the world, and especially our European partners, since there are many European foreign ministers and leaders, prime ministers and leaders who are basically attending the Bled strategic conference. There is a responsibility on the international community to take steps in order to make Israel abide by international law. I mean,
but what are the most urgent steps that you need from the international community at the moment in order to stop Israelis' offensive in Gaza? We've heard as of recently from the EU top diplomat calling on sanctions on some of the Israelis' ministers.
I will say this. What is needed urgently today is a ceasefire. We have been calling for a ceasefire for the past 11 months. And to be honest with you, I joined diplomacy because I actually believed that 101 in diplomacy is whenever there is conflict that the international community calls for a ceasefire. For 11 months, I mean, at the outset, the international community was not calling for a ceasefire. Today, the international community at large is calling for a ceasefire, and Israel is not responding. So it is the responsibility of the international community to ensure that Israel abides by international law, and basically to take the steps that are needed in order to achieve that. Action is always far stronger than words. And until now, we have listened to so many words coming from the international community, so many statements that are coming from the international community. But action is needed. The international community and certain countries in this world need to stop providing Israel with weapons in order that is used to kill Palestinian children, 17,000 children. I mean, this is the number that we know, but there are thousands of people who are under the rubble. I mean, it's just, I was watching this old man in Gaza who was basically sitting on the rubbles of his house and refuses to leave it. And he was saying, bluntly, there is no safe place in Gaza. And he lost his children, he lost his grandchildren. So what kind of a life he is asked to live? I mean, this is what, we're asking for the international community to abide by the promise of international law. I mean, this is the culmination of our humanity as a human family. International law, the international organization, United Nations. I mean, so many employees, hundreds of employees of the UN have been killed by Israel. Hundreds of journalists have been killed by Israel, in addition to the Palestinians. So, I think it's about time that the international community stands by the promise that the countries of the South especially were given, that we are one family, that international law applies to everyone, that the world at large will come to defend smaller countries and peoples under occupation.
Ambassador Jadou, if you don't mind, I would like to give chance to our audience to ask some questions to you. If you don't hear well, I will try to convey the message. Does anyone want to pose a question to Ambassador Jadou? Just a second, we will get you the mic. I just didn't see your hand from the lights, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, my name is Mandy Sangira and I'm from the UK. And the situation has been really very disturbing to watch for the last 11 months. And, I know that we were looking at trying to free some of the hostages. And actually, I think we need to just think about the 6 people that were killed as well, and Palestinian lives that have been killed as well. But it's actually quite disturbing to see that actually Hamas doesn't really want to have, solutions. So it would be really interesting to hear from the ambassador what her thoughts are, because I know that a lot of politicians are looking at wanting to find a, peace in the Middle East, a 2-state solution. Do you really think that that is an option?
Did you hear that, Ambassador Jadou, or should I? Yes.
I did.
Okay, good.
Well, let me tell you first that I believe in all people, innocent people's, all people's, rights to life. And it's something that, I take for granted that you also subscribe to. And I actually would like to see more activism from leaders of this world to stop the massacres of my people and war crimes and the crimes against humanity that are being waged against my people. Obviously, what we hear from Hamas basically is that they abide by the UN Security Council resolution and also by the plan that was envisaged by President Biden. And what we also hear from from sources including basically in Israel especially, and the families of the hostages as well as leaders in Israel. In fact, today there was a massive strike all over Israel, called for by the union of workers, and yesterday there were marches calling for the Prime Minister of Israel to basically, abide by the UN Security resolution, and also to respect the ideas that were presented by President Biden, who himself said that these were Israeli ideas and not actually to focus. And these are not my words. These are the words of the families of the Israeli hostages and the leaders of the opposition in Israel, who are calling on their prime minister to basically put the lives of Israeli hostages first and not to focus on new conditions in the negotiations, whether they are focused on, passages or corridors or all of that.
Thank you, Ambassador. Anyone else wants to pose a question? Just raise your hands or be a little bit Okay, excuse me, I couldn't see you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Smeya, and I'm from South Africa. The ambassador spoke about a two-state solution, but many people would say that that two-state solution is actually not a solution at all. That the 700,000 settlers, it's unlikely that they would be moved in order to give way to a feasible two-state solution. And so, is the authority going to start talking about actually a one-state solution, like how we've seen in South Africa, where people live side by side?
Ambassador Jadou.
Well, I actually would like to see, an end to the apartheid regime that exists in Palestine, like, with a stand by the international community, like what happened in South Africa. And I will actually quote the Deputy Foreign Minister of South Africa, who visited Palestine about 2 years ago, before the war on Gaza was started. And she said, this is an apartheid regime that has gone nuclear. And these are her words. And when I asked her, what do you mean by that? She said that, the system, or the apartheid system in Palestine, is far more complicated, because in South Africa, blacks were able to infiltrate the regime, or, some black people were able to infiltrate the regime and to impact it, to affect it to the benefit of, blacks in South Africa. The regime in Israel is so consolidated in the hands of Israeli Jews that no Palestinian can penetrate it to impact it to the benefit of Palestinians. And in fact, today, it is in the hands of two ministers who are ideologically committed to basically evacuating or ethnic cleansing Palestinians. And basically, this is what is happening. Now, in terms of, a one state, I would tell you that, before the 7th of October and its aftermath, I used to tell all of my interlocutors that this is the only way out, is a one state where basically it can ensure equal rights to all of its citizens. Because the fact that, the person who asked the question, who posed the question, said, today we speak about more than 750 Israeli settlers in the occupied territory of the West Bank, including in East Jerusalem. The Israeli ministers today speak about settling the Gaza Strip. And actually, the Israelis are basically, this is no secret sources. Israelis are saying that they want to have 1 million Israeli settlers in the occupied, colonizers in the Israeli occupied territory by 2025. Today, the terrorization of settlers, the attacks by soldiers, and I witnessed it myself, moving from, or commuting back and forth, from Nablus to Ramallah, or from Bethlehem to Ramallah. The hands of Israeli soldiers are on the trigger, and any wrong movement can lead to your death. And so, there is a sense of hatred, vengeance, that really blinds the Israeli settlers and soldiers, and it really makes any kind of one state, almost impossible. So the only way out today is a divorce based on international law and UN Security Council resolutions, and the globally accepted solution, that is two-state solution. Separation and divorce is the way out today, because of, we're called human animals. We're basically, attacked every step of the way. We're targeted because of who we are. Every step of the way we're targeted because of who we are, and that's not a good spirit for, common living in one state.
Ambassador Jadou, Amal Jadou, thank you for being our guest today on Bled Strategic Forum. I appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure, and I really want to send a message to all of the attendees that it's extremely important that you act. It's not enough that we basically say the right things. We need to be acting in order. Every life that we save, every life that we salvage is worth of our action. Thank you very much.
Thank you again.